All right. Picking back up here. We're in Act 1 still, because another character is introduced here. A character named Ariel. Now, Ariel, usually when I teach this play, my students always think Ariel's a female, because Ariel's a female, or a woman's name in our culture. But in this play, Ariel is referred to by masculine pronoun references. Now, Ariel is a spirit, so I'm not sure to what extent a spirit can be masculine or feminine, but whatever it is, it's a masculine spirit. And we see this in Act 1, Scene 2, an interesting conversation that reveals some things about Ariel and who this person is, or who this character is. Prospero says in Act 1, Scene 2, line 237, Ariel, thy charge exactly is performed, but there's more work. What is the time of the day? Ariel, past the mid-season. Prospero, at least 2 glasses. The time twixt 6 and now must by us both be spent most preciously. Time is of the essence, he basically says, right? Ariel says, is there more toil? Since thou dost give me pains, let me remind thee, what thou hast promised, which is not yet performed me. You promised me something, and you haven't given it yet. Prospero, how now? Moody? What is it thou canst demand? Ariel, my liberty. That's a cool, powerful, just simple statement. My liberty, he says. And Prospero, before the time be out? No more. Stop this. This time's not ready yet, he says. Ariel, I prithee, remember I have done thee worthy service. I've been working hard for you, told thee no lies, made no mistakes, served without a grudge or grumblings. Thou did promise to bate me a full year. And Prospero's response, dost thou forget from what a torment I did free thee? Ariel, no. Prospero says, thou dost, you did forget, and thinks it much to tread the ooze of thy salt deep, to run upon the sharp wind of the north, to do me business in the veins of the earth when it is baked with frost. Ariel says, I do not, I don't forget, right? Prospero says, you forgot what I've given you. You forgot what I freed you from. Basically, as he says here, Ariel was captive to an evil sorceress named Sycorax. And when Prospero came to the island, he got rid of Sycorax and he freed Ariel. Part of Ariel's freedom, basically he becomes an indentured servant, if you will. And so, again, another part of this text is the idea of authority. What is the nature of authority? Can authority be all bad? Or can it be all good? Or is it always a mixture thereof? That's a key theme, because another character we have that kind of relates to this is this character Caliban. Let me make sure I'm not missing any of my notes here. Yeah, the next one is Caliban. So let's look at that one, actually. The next kind of section would be same act, Act 1, Scene 2, line 345. Caliban is called a fish man. Like he's part fish, part man. I don't know what that looks like, but anyway. Prospero says this. He says, thou most lying slave, whom stripes may move, not kindness. The only way I can get through to you is by beating you, he says. I have used thee, filth as thou art, with humane care. I have been kind to you, and lodged you, given you accommodations, in mine own cell, in my own apartment, till thou didst seek to violate the honor of my child. Caliban says, oh, ho, ho! Wouldst had been done? Thou didst prevent me. I had peopled else this island with Calibans. So, in other words, right, Caliban, classic. Prospero says, I let you stay in my own apartment. I let you stay in my own home, basically, right? Until you, fool, tried to abuse my daughter. Tried to have sex, tried to rape my daughter. Tried to rape my own daughter. And then Caliban laughs. It seems like he laughs, right? Oh, ho, ho! If you hadn't stopped me, I would have peopled the island. I would have made lots of little baby Calibans with your daughter. Awful. Miranda pipes in here, right? Now, remember we know about Miranda. Miranda's pretty gentle and empathetic, but we'll look at what she says. Line 351. Abhorred slave, which any print of goodness wilt not take. No good is in you, basically, she says, right? No good can you be taught. I pitied thee. I took pains to make thee speak, taught thee each hour one thing or another, when thou didst not, savage, know thine own meaning, but wouldst gabble like a thing most brutish. I endowed thy purposes with words that made them known. But thy vile race, though thou didst learn, had that in it which good natures could not abide to be with. Therefore wast thou deservedly confined into this rock, who hadst deserved more than a prison. Miranda, why? You turned on me. You tried to rape me, and yet, I gave you? I gave you what? Education. I taught you to speak. I gave you words to your experience. I freed you from ignorance. Now, does this sound familiar to you? I'm pulling away from the text now, but during this same time, now I have some notes here, the play was performed in 1611. English colonial activity is in full force at this time. As you may know, on March 25th, 1584, Queen Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen, as she was known, granted Sir Walter Raleigh a charter for the colonization of an area in North America which was to be called, in her honor, Virginia. So, is the Caliban character a nod to the colonial activity and the handling of native people in the American exploration? Some say it is. Is Caliban being used as a commentary on civilization and authority? Notice Miranda's comments. I taught you how to be civilized. I spent time and energy on you and giving you a language and giving you purpose with words that made known your experience. And then she says, but your vile race, your race kept you from being able to absorb what? Goodness. That's interesting. A connection between race and goodness. A post-colonial reading of this text would say that Caliban is an oppressed native people. That could be one reading of the text. The text does not make for an easy reading in that way, because you also see in some ways that Caliban is set free and in some ways helped by colonial authority, by colonial influence. So, was Caliban suffering without a good, benevolent ruler? Is this what he needed? Is this what all men and women need, is a good ruler and good authority? Or else chaos breaks out? Or is he an oppressed people group? Definitely a question that's being asked and debated. This is a hot debate in the Tempest among people that debate this kind of stuff. So Act 2. In Act 2 we get a closer look at the company of men who were shipwrecked on the island. This was the crew that Prospero said were brought by fortune, or brought by God, right? Why would God want to bring these men to the island? What kind of men are they? What happens when they land? How do they treat each other? These are questions you should be asking yourself. How do they appear in comparison to Miranda and Prospero? Who's in charge? We were talking about that. Alonso, right? What kind of rule does he have? What role do Stefano and Trinculo play in this act? These guys are kind of funny in some ways, but kind of dark and dangerous in other ways, right? Stefano is described in the character list as a drunken butler. Sounds good. Trinculo is described as a jester. Why are these stated roles significant? A drunken butler and a jester. Well, we can think just what I just said a second ago about the nature of authority. So these men land. Alonso, I think he's sleeping, right? He's still in that trance. These men go off on their own. These men are not rulers. These men are not gentlemen. These men are lower class, a jester and a butler, a drunken butler at that. They have no authority. They have no government over them. So what do? They break out into chaos. They join up with Caliban, and to do what? To take over the island and to kill the king, whoever that might be. It's Prospero, right? They're going to kill him and bash his brains. They say a very dramatic and graphic description of what they want to do to Prospero. Is this kind of an affirmation of what we just saw in the last scene, where we're talking about the nature of authority? What happens when there is no authority? There's a great text, Lord of the Flies, that I read many years ago, and that kind of talks about these young boys who arrive on an island, and what happens? Chaos ensues. They begin to become brutal with each other. Because why? Because there is no governing authority. And authority becomes brutalistic in many ways. I'm not sure brutalistic is a word, to be honest with you, but authority becomes brutal without any government. And so, we have chaos. So that's Act 2. Act 3. Let's take a look at Act 3, line 53. Act 3, line 53. Act 3, scene 1? Yeah. No. Act 3, scene 2. How does Prospero employ Ariel in this act? How does Prospero employ Ariel in this act? That's actually Act 3, Scene 3. Sorry. So it says here, Act 3, Scene 3, line 53. Ariel says, Ariel is speaking with Alonso, Gonzalo, Sebastian, Francisco. Yeah. It says this, the stage directions. Thunder and lightning enter Ariel like a harpy, claps his wings upon the table, and with a quaint device, the banquet vanishes. Ariel says to them, most likely with a tough voice. I just picture Ariel being something like this. You are 3 men of sin, whom destiny that hath to instrument this lower world, and what is in it, the never surfeited sea, hath caused to belch you up. And on this island where man doth not inhabit, you amongst men, being most unfit to live, I have made you mad. And even with such like valor, men hang and drown their proper selves. Alonso, Sebastian, etc. draw their swords. You fools! I and my fellows are ministers of fate. The elements of whom your swords are tempered may as well wound the loud winds. That's a great line, right? Why are you drawing your swords, you idiots? I'm a spirit. What's your sword going to do to me? Do you draw your sword on winds or on clouds or on rain? It doesn't do any good, you fools. So wait, of whom your sword... You may as well try to wound the loud winds, right? Or with be mocked at, stabs, kill the still closing waters. Did you use your swords against the waves as they were pounding your ship? As diminish one dowel that's in my plume, my fellow ministers are like invulnerable. If you could hurt, your swords are now too massy for your strengths, and will not be uplifted. But remember, for that's my business to you, that you 3 from Milan did supplant good Prospero. You kicked Prospero out. You exposed him unto the sea, which hath requited him and his innocent child. He was saved. No thanks to you, idiots. For which foul deed the powers delaying, not forgetting, have incensed the seas and shores, yea, all the creatures, against your peace. Because you did this bad thing to Prospero, God has punished you and brought you here. That's Ariel saying. Thee of thy son, Alonso, they have bereft. Alonso's son is Ferdinand, right? And Ferdinand's off having fun with Miranda right now. But as far as Alonso knows, his son is dead. What Ariel says is, God has taken your son away from you. Alonso is thinking, my son is dead. Ariel is just saying, your son's not here. He's kind of playing into Alonso's fears that his son is dead, right? And do pronounce by me lingering perdition, worse than any death can be at once, shall step by step attend you in your ways. I am a minister of fate. I am God's angelic being, if you will, a spirit sent to punish you guys by lingering perdition, right? Lingering perdition, a slow and miserable torture, worse than death. Death would be easy compared to this. Instead of dying, no. I'm going to punish you guys. Whose wrath to guard you from, which here in this most desolate island, else falls upon your heads is nothing but heart's sorrow and a clear life ensuing. And then he vanishes, right? So, how does Prospero employ Ariel in this act? This is Prospero now, his authority. He has Ariel go and say these words, right? How does Prospero employ Ariel in this act? What does Prospero hope to accomplish with Ariel? What does Prospero want